Hello and welcome to 60 Minutes to Six Figures. I'm Genny Williams with Get a Real Estate Life Coaching Program, and we are going to have a blast today. Not only because Matt Johnson is here being our host, but because I have one of my dear friends joining us today, Joey Mure with Blueprint Financial, and we are going to be talking about how to refer your way into a profitable, fun business. And Joey and I have been doing business like this, and really Matt does business like this too. I think a lot of times when you're out there creating opportunities for other people, you may not even realize that you do that. And then, Joey and I became very intentional about doing this about 7 years ago, and it's a blast. It's so much fun, and we get a lot of joy out of it, and it builds your business quickly, and it's a lot more fun than a lot of internet leads, I promise. So for some of you, it's going to be a refresher on referrals. You're going to go, yeah, what's new about that? And I laugh about that because you may have been crazy busy and you might not be doing any of it. So I want to, if you're an old school referral person, I congratulate you. Let's get you back on track with some of these refreshers that we're gonna talk about today. So Matt, welcome.
How's it going?
Look at his beard, y'all. It's growing out.
I don't know. Well, this will be one of the last days you see it. So by the time next month rolls around, it'll be nice and trim. It'll be tight. It'll be good looking again. Okay, but yes, it's getting scratchy, and that's not a good thing. So
he's always so GQ.
Well, feeling a lot less GQ today. But anyway. So if any of you notice, we don't have a Google Plus page anymore. YouTube is changing some things, and they've changed the format for how we are kind of delivering this content to you. So we still want to give you a chance to interact if you are joining us live today. Obviously, make sure you subscribe on YouTube so you get all of Genny's future videos and the future 60 Minutes to Six Figures episodes and all that good stuff. But if you're watching live, if you're here on YouTube with us, if you want to ask a question, I'll be keeping an eye on the Get a Real Estate Life Facebook page. So that's the page, not the group, but just the Get a Real Estate Life on Facebook, the page. Just go there. You can type in any comment or question that you'd like. I'll keep an eye on that, and I'll bring that to Genny and Joey.
All right, sounds good. So let me give you some background on Joey. Joey is a long-time, successful loan officer that a couple years ago decided to, start over in a brand new career. And Joey and I got involved in what's called infinite banking several years ago, and he just really has done way more with it than I did. It took me a while to get going with it, but he became so passionate about it as a way for real estate agents and lenders to fund their retirement, and so much more. So he's going to share that with us. But I just wanted to tell you, he knows what we go through as real estate agents, as lender professionals. He's been in the trenches. He's built a huge, thriving team at Wells Fargo. And I'm sorry I had to say the name, Joey, but it does not make you any less credible. So welcome to 60 Minutes to Six Figures.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And if anything, Genny, the fact that you said I was with Wells Fargo should give everybody more the reason to listen, because I survived. I came out on the other side, so there's that.
Yes, you did. So, and I was just explaining to Matt a few minutes ago that when Joey called to say, I guess when someone who's really successful and is a dear friend in your world says, hey, I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing now and I'm going to do something completely brand new, I was scared for him. And because he was just had built this incredible business before, and I was, worried a little bit about that. Not that I didn't think that he could do it. It's just that it's a whole lot to replace. And it didn't take any time at all. And he was making records, breaking all the sales records with his new venture. So, you want to explain a little bit about what you do, and then let's talk about how you replaced what you did at Wells Fargo in no time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I don't want this to be, used up totally on what I do, but to kind of sum it up is, and the reason why I became passionate about this is I know firsthand what it feels like to be in this kind of up and down commission income, where we look back at the end of the year when we're getting ready to start looking at our taxes, and we say, wow, that was a great year. But it doesn't feel like a great year because the next month we don't know what we're going to make. We don't know if the pending contracts are going to come through, or if the buyer's going to get cold feet, or whatever it might be. In the lending world, we don't know if something's going to kick somebody out from being approved or not. And so you never know. You can't see 6 months even in advance. So traditionally, and this is just where I found myself, we are not the greatest people in the real estate industry to put large sums of money away that we can't touch for the next 30 years and say, oh yeah, well, I'll just wake up one day and I'll have this grand retirement set up and I can, head out into the sunset.
I'm sorry, it just makes me laugh because nobody does it in our world. And I'm talking about, $350,000 income producers, $500,000 income producers. They don't do it. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were so funny.
Well, it just dawned on me that if personally I was making well over $300,000 a year, and I would look back and wonder, how am I ever going to get ahead? How am I ever going to really save enough to put my kids through college? Like, those are things that were important to me. And basically my only alternative was a savings account. And savings account's not going to get you ahead in any way, shape, or form. So when I understood this whole infinite banking concept, it dramatically changed my whole outlook on finance personally, and started saving 4 or 5 times what I had been used to saving in my Wells Fargo 401k, for instance. And the whole difference is I knew I could get my hands on this money if I needed to. It's just that small difference that made a huge impact for my family. And so after being a client for 4 years, I basically was convicted that other people in our industry need to know this. And they need to know that there's an alternative to just throwing money in a savings account and hoping that you're ever going to get ahead. So anyways, long and short of it is, it really helped me to define my target audience. Who is it that I'm helping? And so realtors, builders, lenders, and people that invest in real estate are my primary focus, because I feel like I can really make the biggest impact in their lives and give them an alternative.
Well, and it's so needed because I'm passionate about this, because I don't want you to have to work with a client you don't want to work with, or go to a part of town that you're not comfortable going to just because you have to make a commission. And having that savings in the bank gives you something to look forward to, and it helps you stay with your ideal client. So if I always say that, I just said that in our group recently, is if I can give you anything, I would wish for you financial security, so that your business is a lot more joyful. And one of the ways that Joey and I made our businesses a lot more joyful is by referrals, and pretty much by referring other people. Both of us have a philosophy, and it kind of we did business like this anyway, but whenever we met Michael Mayer and we together did 7 levels of communication, after I read it and got everybody in Birmingham to read it, and I was crazy passionate about it because it kind of identified what we were already doing. And that is, I might call it being a decent human being, but other people would say that it's intentional on giving referrals and creating opportunities for other people. And, both of us live by this, and Matt does too. We don't start the day on what's in it for me. We start the day, in fact, it's on my calendar. Who am I going to bless today? who am I going to reach out and give to today? And it could be a client, it could be somebody that I don't even know. But it changes everything with the knowledge of knowing that it's always going to come back to you in some form. Right, Joey?
That's right. Yeah. I would say, to your point, you're probably the most selfless person as it pertains to this. You're a great model for me to see how you operate, and so many of your clients do end up doing the same thing because I work with a lot of them and I see it all the time. They're always asking me, how can I refer you? How can I, who do you need to get in touch with? And that's just, again, that's kind of a top-down, type of mentality that you always portray. But I'd say about the 7 levels deal, it really just gives some structure to what you know to be true.
Right.
When you give, you will receive. I mean, it's all very basic kind of, Zig Ziglar would say the same thing, that if you make everybody else a millionaire around you, have no choice but to be a millionaire yourself. It's always going to come back to you. But I think the 7 levels, I think for you and I both, I feel like it gave us just structure to say, this is how you can proactively do this, instead of kind of as you go about your day.
Right.
You really have specific times and specific things that will yield making those referral relationships more profitable.
Well, and just getting the most out of it during your day. Like, okay, how can we take that one step further? Okay, now that we've got this relationship, what's that one other thing I can do for that person? Or, it really kind of changes how you go about your day and thinking about how to do for others instead of maybe just a note card. Right? Like we're thankful for that, but let me really thank you by setting you up, an introduction to someone who can take your business, where it needs to go to the next level. That to me is a much better thank you than a coffee.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about, how we go about creating some opportunities. Like, for me, I can give you like Pete's print as an example. Pete is a giver. He's always giving back. He's always thinking about opportunity. He walked in just a little bit ago, and he has on his mind when he gets here, who needs some help today? Like, what kind of referral he's going to bring me when he walks in the door. He's a perfect example of all of this coming back to him because he's thinking of others all the time. So, can you think of some examples of, where you've created opportunities for people?
What I would say is that one of the things that we did over the last years that was really impactful to my business. In fact, I ended up having to hire an extra person just to help with the flow of new business that was coming in. This is when I was at Wells. But just having specific time set aside to meet with people and to find out what's their biggest challenge. These are kind of questions that they're very, very simple, but they make an incredible impact in people's lives, because nobody ever stops these days and really says, let me take my agenda off of the table and make this time all about you, right? And
Right.
So what I found myself doing is sitting across the table from somebody that I don't even know, quite honestly, if they're ever going to be somebody that would be able to refer me or to have any sort of business impact. But the fact of me stopping, taking time out of my day and saying, how can I help you? Who is it that you need to be connected to? And what is your biggest challenge right now? You end up finding opportunities that you never would have known had you not asked those questions. And I can just give one kind of small example, but a guy that was referred to me for business when I first started doing what I'm doing now, and I thought, man, this guy's going to be a great, potential person to work with. And the first thing I asked him was, what's your biggest challenge? And his thing was, I need to find great people to work with me. That's how we need to scale our business and grow our business. And we're having a really hard time right now. And I said, man, there's a great group, and you know, Cord Sachs at Fire Seeds. I said, I'd love to connect you to you guys. I really feel, you know, confident that he can provide great talent for you and take care of that. And you know what? We've never done business, me and this initial person, but Cord was able to help him over and over again. And so I've seen little snippets even about his business, and it's growing dramatically. And so,
well, and you introduced me to Cord.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, because things that I had been frustrated about, and he was the one. I gave it up, wrote my big old check, hired him, fell in love with Cord first. I mean, he's upstairs in this building as I speak. But not only is he an amazing person just to know, but he brought in and found my director of operations for me so that I would make smart decisions. And, you know, this year has been my greatest year of revenue in 7 years. It's a big deal. So you're absolutely right. He may not be doing business with you right now, but I'm sure that that person you refer to Cord talks about you all the time. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there's like you said initially, you just get great joy out of being able to connect the dots, so to speak, and help people, whether it ever really comes back to you or not, but it always generally does.
Right. I mean, I've got several appointments this week that are just favors for people I adore and love. They have referred other people, and I know these people are not going to become clients. For one, I can't take on any one-on-ones right now. So it's not about that. You do it to be able to give back and see how you can help that person grow and see if they can have some kind of takeaway so that they go out in the world and produce. And who knows, 5 years down the road, it comes back to you in other ways. So one thing I do want to put as a caveat on this is when you start being highly intentional and do these things in your business every day, you are going to have a ton of people call you. Once the word is out, and you don't have to advertise it. Once the word is out that you are a giver and you're somebody who needs to be connected with because you will create opportunities for people, you will have people lined up down your hall to get in the door. So then you have to start managing that. It is an issue. I didn't even think about that before. Once, you know, I got on steroids and I'm like, I have no time because I've been in free appointments. So you do have to start qualifying it a little bit, but it works, and it works supercharged. Now, you can't just do one thing and expect people to start referring you. And the way that, you know, when I said not advertising, but kind of letting people know, you know, post those opportunities you're trying to create for other people. Hey, I have a friend who has this business, and, you know, this would be really helpful for them. You know, who do you know that they need to know so that we can get introductions for them? Introductions are, you know, a huge thing. If you can make that happen for people and bring other people together and just step out, introductions can be worth, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh,
and it's so easy, right, Joey? It's easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The big difference is just intentionality. Are you intentional about it? Because you never realize what kind of gold is in your database of your friends that and clients and people that you know, and they know and trust you. But when you can make that just an initial step in the door for somebody, it's amazing how it can benefit both. So
you're right. So, okay, for somebody who is sitting there and has no business and maybe having a little bit of attitude and disparity right now, they're like, whatever, right? I know they're watching this and going, oh, please. I just got 2 referrals last month. Now I'm talking about many referrals in a day, and it's super fast to do. So let's talk about the steps. Let's talk about how to make that happen for somebody. If you're watching this, then get a pen out because I want you to take notes because this is serious. and you can make it happen and have referrals by the end of the week. So, first of all, it's that mindset thinking, what Joey and I were talking about. I'm normally not a fan of BNI groups, and Joey, I know you're a member of one, but let me just clarify why. It's because every time I've ever been to one, everybody is there with their hand out, and they're thinking about, well, they're not going to give me any business. Well, that didn't work. Well, I'm wasting my time with them, and I don't want to be around those people.
Right.
That is not what I'm talking about. You have to change your mindset on, how can I help you? What is it that makes you different that I can tell other people? What do other people need to know about what it is that you do so that I can point the right people to you and create an audience for you or have an introduction for you? I'm not always going to know somebody, but if I know what you do, then I can be on the hunt to help you. If you're nice. If you're not nice, I will quickly forget who you are. But don't you think that's like the first thing?
Absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing about this whole deal is mindset, in my opinion. And the problem is that naturally, if we're just starting out in the business, let's say that you're just starting and you're really just hungry, like you need to close some business to make your investment into real estate worthwhile, to validate your maybe changing careers or whatever it might have been, the hardest thing to do is to step outside of yourself and say, it's not all about me. If I make everything about others, it's going to come back to me. And it's a faith game. It really is a true, I'm having to step out and put myself out there and kind of trust that something's going to come back. And it will feel, especially initially, like I am wasting my time. Like I am just giving, and you may not see somebody come out the gate and say, man, I really needed to meet you and I need to send you a referral. But that's not why you initially do it. You become, like you said, you become essentially like a web that everybody is looking back at and saying, wow, I can't believe Genny connected me to so-and-so that ended up being so-and-so that ended up being this great referral partner that now multiple referrals are coming from. You can't see that when you first start. So everything is really a step out in faith. So that mindset has to be there that I'm going to do this at whatever level I can initially, but knowing that I've got to put others first. So that mindset is critical.
Well, and I think too, like what you said, like it may not pay off for a while. You're going to ask yourself the question, or you're going to look in the mirror one day and you're going to say, all I'm doing or just giving like crazy to everybody else, and it's just not coming back to me, and people are taking advantage of me. Okay, it's human nature for people to take advantage of your generosity. So some people are going to do that. You just have to know that that's going to happen and you move on. And some people are also very immature in their walk, so they don't realize that it's a good thing to also give back. It's not your place to educate them on that. You just move on doing for the next person. You're going to have that little breakdown. So once you have right mindset, you get out and you're giving like crazy and creating opportunities and introductions and doing for other people, then you're going to have the pity party. So just say, all right, I did it, and now you've made a breakthrough. Okay, so we'll move on to step 2 with your pen and paper. And that's setting up your calendar for referrals. You want to share a little bit about like what your schedule might look like?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is you've just got to make sure that in your calendar you've got times that are specifically about planning for the next 2 weeks, right? Who can I connect with? And I think that's the hardest part, is we're always so busy. We're always so focused on, the tasks that are at hand. We don't really step back and think. Thinking is like overrated in our world today. And so, but it really takes work. It really takes work to think outside of yourself and to say, I'm going to find, okay, who is it that I know that I can connect other people to? And then who do I need to know that would be a great person to connect with all these other people here? So it's, you're kind of going in with your gun loaded, so to speak. It's like, hey, if I meet this person and they're really strong and they have the right attitude and they have the right mentality, I want to almost have like 5 people I can refer to them right out the gate. That just blows people's mind.
Yes.
So, I mean, in terms of real estate, I would think, is there a home inspector that you really want to become great friends with and could be looking at, growing a relationship with? Get to know somebody like that, because you know you're going to automatically have people that you can refer to that person.
Right.
Mortgage people.
I know what you're thinking. You got to have a list of 3. Already, I know that mindset's popping up. But
So
he's right. You can get to know 3 of them.
Exactly. And mortgage people and title people and people that you're going to have a natural audience to refer. I think those are great people. And then the other part, I think this is just a practical thing, is to find a specific place. This is in the book, and we kind of did this. Have a specific place that you can meet with several people in a row, and be thinking really critically about, if I meet with a title person at lunch at this place, and then I have a mortgage person come meet me after lunch at that place, that's a great connection that I can make literally on the spot as they're passing. And I think that just increases your value tenfold when you can say, hey, I just got done meeting with so-and-so at this title company, and then the mortgage person comes in, you say, hey, do y'all know each other? Have you met? This is a great referral relationship for that title person to get to know that mortgage person. So again, even how you set up your appointments can be on purpose and really lead to greater influence and impact.
Right. So if you say, I'm going to meet with this many people just to be able to give back in a week, you've got that on your calendar right away. And then from that, like what Joey said, from those conversations, you're going to discover other ways that you can help. So you can have a giving goal every single week, like how many referrals I'm going to give out this week, and make sure they're good ones. Make sure they count. Don't be, picking somebody out of the phone book, which, Matt's like, what's a phone book?
Oh, stop. I'm an old soul.
Yeah. So really kind of that's your structure for the first day. And I tell all of my clients, if you want to take over a town or you want to take over a neighborhood, you do that through small business owners. You go to where they are. You walk into their place of business. They are married to it. They cannot leave it. And everybody always walks in those places with their hands out if they're not a customer. And, hey, can you sponsor Little League? Hey, can you buy a banner here? Hey, can you do this fundraising event? Hey, can you donate this, right? But if you walk in, and I've watched people change their businesses like this so quickly, if you walk into that small business owner and say, what do people out in the community need to know about you? Because I meet people all the time, and I'd love to be able to help you out and share your business with them. Do you have any information I could pass out for them? Who's your ideal client? And I had one, just in a workshop I was teaching, I gave the scripts and everything. And the next day the girl said, you know what? I went to 2 places, and I met one man who sent me 2 referrals by the end of the day, because he was so blown away that somebody came in and asked about him and his business. So it works quickly. And then of course you've got all the other stuff, like, do videos with them, tag them, because then you want to meet their sphere of influence. That's taking it even deeper. But right, we got the calendar set up, right? We've got the structure in place, got the calendar set up for who we want to give back to that week. And then you'll find out other people in your conversations with those people that you don't know yet, and by asking for introductions. Can you tell me how you ask for introductions, Joey?
I don't know if I like do this really well or something. I mean, but I just think that it's natural because what ends up happening is not, you don't even have to frame this. It just ends up happening. It's one of two things, and sometimes both. When you're in a meeting like that, by the end of it, let's say it was a 30-minute meeting or something, and you've just made the time all about this person, or in your case, you just mentioned the business or whatever. They're at the end of it, it's kind of like they're uncomfortable. They're kind of like, I mean, looking down at their watch and they're saying, I mean, we're out of time, but I mean, I haven't even heard anything about your business. Like, how can I help you? It's like they can't help themselves. They really want to give you back something because it's just natural that people don't receive well without having to give. And so, one, I think a little quick thing that people have done is they'll even have like a little information sheet about their business that they can give them to them and say, why don't we have another meeting another time, but this is just a couple things about my business, and love for you to introduce me. These are the kind of people that I'd like to get introduced to. And they're like glad at that point. They're like, man, I mean, because you think about it, people will refer when they feel confident that their name association with you is going to make them look better, not worse, right? So
Right.
when they walk out of a meeting that was all about them, how does their referral lose in that case? They don't, because they feel confident that you're going to make the next meeting to their referral all about them too, because you've kind of proven that that's how you operate. And so it's just that much easier for them to refer that person. So, so number one, I think you don't have to even ask. People will want to. They'll be driven to give, and they're going to ask, who can I connect you with, so on and so forth. Or they'll do one of two things. One, they'll ask you, who can I refer you to? Or two, they'll say, you know what, you really need to meet so and so. They're really, and they don't always use the same word, but they'll say something like, man, they're a very connected person. Or they'll say, they really refer a lot to me, or they're very active in the community or something. So they automatically associate you with somebody that they know that's very connected, and they say, hey, you guys ought to meet. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does. Absolutely.
You do need to know who your specific person is that you want to be introduced to. And so in my case, it would be builders, realtors, lenders who are concerned about building wealth, and they need an alternative. That's kind of a natural thing. I love meeting people that are starting teams or that have a team mindset because they think like a business owner, and that's very critical for what we do. So,
and that's the same audience that Matt has.
Yeah.
Matt works with people who are starting teams, and he's very clear about, this is my ideal. This is who I cater to. And, any person that I know, I want Matt to meet because he's so good to me. So I'm always like, okay, what would be beneficial? Do I need to send this? Do I need to do that? How can, I want to get you an introduction. What do I do? And, that's just what good people do.
Yes. So, and Genny, just so that you are in the lead as far as referring me to more people over the time that I've known you. So you really do practice what you preach. I mean, and
no
the
question.
people that you introduce me to, you don't introduce me to them just for my benefit or for the benefit of our relationship to make it look like you're making an effort. Like, you're very good at making sure that the people that you introduce me to, it's genuinely helpful for them to meet me, because I can actually help them in some way, whether it's as a client or not. And a lot of times it's not, but I can help them in other ways that have nothing to do with money being exchanged. And yeah, it's you pay very close attention to that. It's like, for however it is, like whatever it is that you're doing, however intentional you are about that, the result is the introductions always go well, because there's always a very good fit. There's always a good alignment between what they're looking for and what I can do to potentially help them. Even if no money ever exchanges hands, I'm always able to help them in some way. And that speaks to like how much thought you give before you just fire off an intro email.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
practicing something new that my husband says I'm terrible at doing, and that's saying thank you.
It's hard to receive, right? I
It
mean,
is. When you were saying that, I totally earlier when you were like, oh, some words that you used, I'm like, oh, get off of that topic. Because you were being nice about me. So I'm sorry. Thank you. Both of you. Thank you. I'm going to do better about that.
Right.
I had my friend Rob Purdy, who with Jawai, when he was with Jawai, he said the same thing. It's like, you never say thank you. You never take a compliment. So, okay. So kind of, Joey, you touched like on what to say during your meeting as you're getting to know people. And I touched a little bit about it too. If you have nothing, if you have no sales on your plate as a real estate agent, then get out and meet these people who are connected to other people. And you might say, well, that's not my style and that's not how I work. But do you need the business? Change your style.
yeah.
And it's not hard to be a giver.
Right.
Everybody
is
really wants that style.
Yeah, it's unnatural, right? It's going to feel weird at a certain level, even to the person that you're sitting with, because they're kind of like, really? I mean, what is this about? Like, are you, nobody calls you up and says, and I'll back up one step. We talked about getting into the meeting, what you potentially can say in the meeting, and I can expound on that a little bit. But the first step is making the call that's sometimes a little awkward, just to say, hey, legitimately, so-and-so told me that I might need to meet you. I really just wanted to spend maybe 30 minutes hearing about your business and looking for opportunities to refer you. Would you be open to grabbing coffee? I mean, most people, unless they just have way too much business, are more than willing to do that. And so, to me, I'd heard all these different lead generation type of opportunities and ideas, and some of them just, quite frankly, just don't fit my personality. They don't. I'm not this salesy, high pressure kind of guy that if you say something a certain way, then people are going to act this way. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just a bunch of malarkey to me.
Right.
But to legitimately say, hey, I want to make this about you, and this time is all about you, and I want to find out how I can refer you, and then to follow through on that. Don't use that to get your foot in the door and then make it about you in the meeting, because that's the worst thing that can happen. But is so natural to be able to say, I want to get to know about your business, sit down with them, and just ask very pointed questions that would allow you to have, whatever knowledge you need to know about their business to refer them. And then to walk away and say, okay, I need to be thinking, who can I refer them to? And many times in the meeting, you're already making connections and thinking, do you know so-and-so? Because they have the same exact issue, and they're working with so-and-so, and that's really helped them a lot, whatever. It's like immediately you can make those connections. But yeah, so how you get into the meeting, I think, is critical, is going in with that mindset and just that kind of script or whatever you want to call it. And then when you're in the meeting, we kind of touched on this before, but finding out what's their biggest challenge is huge. And then rather than just jump into a conclusion as to how you could solve that or whatever, which is really hard for guys. Guys always want to fix things like immediately.
What? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Ask my
Right.
wife how I do on that. I'm like going down in flames on that deal. But so the next question is always, so what have you already tried?
Yeah.
In light of that challenge, and then finally, what are you going to do next? So you're really not offering immediate answers to anything, but you're asking, what have they tried, and what's their plan? How are they already planning to do it? And then by the end of it, many times they've solved it themselves, but they look to you like you're, this miracle worker, which is not really the case. You just took time to listen and, to probe a little bit and ask them, more about what they're already planning on doing. So.
And what's so funny is, you've done this to me beautifully when I've been in tizzies about things, or if I've been going through certain stressors in my business. You've beautifully thrown out those scripts for me, and I already know where it's coming from, but it's so natural. You don't laugh and go, "Oh, I know what you're doing." It's being a basic human being. And Michael Mayer, it was so funny. I did an event for him in Birmingham, and he asked me, and I remember I was driving home on 280, and he asked me, "So what's been your biggest challenge about, putting this event together?" And I told him, and then he said, "How would you do it differently next time?" And asked me a couple of questions. I said, "Oh, you did it to me."
Totally got you.
Yes, totally got me. But the thing is that it made me feel closer to him because he was asking those questions. And it sounds like a script at first, the first time you use it. But again, it's just being a natural, a good person, being a great human being. So, all right. So we've kind of got all that. Now, how do we follow up? What are the next things we need to do? Did Joey pop off?
Am I here?
Are you there?
Yeah,
okay. Now, okay. Yeah. It went dark on my screen. So here's also one thing I want to throw out is, this is what I hear back. That's fine for business people, but my people, you know it because you've had team members. My people work all day. Like, I'm not going to be able to have a meeting with them. That's ridiculous. This will never work for me. That's a bunch of phooey.
Wow. I mean, I don't know. The answer there to me is just get new people. Highly motivated, highly connected people are generally going to be available to have meetings like this. I mean, this is not like asking for some huge. You're not asking them to bend over backwards. You're really bringing value. So somebody that's not willing to receive value is not somebody you need to be spending time with anyway.
Well, and I do agree. So kind of what even people that have blue collar jobs, all right, that might be excellent referrers, have to have lunch.
That's right.
They have break times. There are certain ways that you can connect without making it seem weird for every person. And, one of my greatest referrers was a stay-at-home mom. And it was hard for her to get out of the house. But she, at the time, was not a high-level professional. But all her friends she went to college were. So she would get on the phone. She was such a great foot soldier. And she would say, "Do you know, just forcing people to call me." I swear I closed like 8 transactions just because of her. And she couldn't ever get out of the house, but I would send her nice little notes here and there. I would send her movies that she could watch while the kids were taking a nap, just things like that. Just trying to be thoughtful because I was just so thankful of everything that she did for me. So there are other ways that you can connect with people in your database, and there are connectors already right there that you already know. You just need to get to know them better. One time Fred Smith told me that, he said, if I could just be a member of the PTO, and he said the lady agents that are highly involved in the schools, in debt, they do get a lot of referrals. And he's very passionate about his children, very passionate about the schools in his community. He found a way to be a member, and he donates a percentage of every sale to the school. And who gets all the PR with the big checks that are sent out, right? Because it's giving, and now he's in the newspaper all the time with these big checks that he's donating, and all the sign writers say so. And so there are all different ways that you can think about how to give. And we're working on that right now in Texas with Melanie Ferguson. She is giving to the band at the high school. So these are fun things. So as you're increasing your database, right, you've got to send continuous messages to your database so that you're pretty much training people to get out and refer you. And they can't hear from you twice a year with a football calendar and a New Year calendar. You got to do a little bit more effort. You need to be able to touch them 3 times per month, whether it's, something very personal, and then 2 ways that aren't so personal. Note cards are great, but even just tips and value and your time and phone calls or voice blasts or, postcards even that are about them. Birthday cards are great, but you have to stay in touch as you're building your database. It's very, very important because people will start thinking of you all the time. It takes a little bit of time to generate that, but over time, your business will be a gold mine, and you won't have to use any other lead generation system. I mean, am I right, Joey? You grew your business so quickly.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper to do it this way, I would think. But I think the main theme of this whole call is really just paying it forward. So in some cases, you're just depositing, putting money and time and effort in ahead of time when there's this wave that's coming, and it happens. It's just a matter of, again, being consistent is huge. Making sure it's on purpose, making sure. Now, I will say the one little kind of tip that we haven't really talked about yet is to start with the people that already refer you consistently. There's a way that Michael was talking about categorizing your database. So these are the A people that have consistently referred you over the years, whether it be and if you're just starting in the business, maybe it's not people that have referred you in the years, or maybe it's people that you just know that you have a much closer relationship with, that you start with those people. Those are the ones that you're going to have a little bit more intentional thoughtfulness, if that's a way to think about it. Like, you're going to really be thinking about, how can I give back to this person? How can I specifically meet a need, or how can I specifically be more thoughtful in terms of my interaction with them? And then from then on, it might be just more of a newsletter or an email blast or whatever it might be. I know you do a great job with your clients of helping them to create newsletters and email blasts and nurture systems and things like that I think are incredible. Josh and Jamie are a great example. I still get their little newsletter in a unique.
You just got it a few days ago,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
We just printed it and sent it.
But it comes in a unique package, so I don't just immediately want to throw it out. I want to open it. I want to read it. And there's a lot of tips in there that are about me, about my house, about my, and then there's also things about creating their value,
Their credibility.
Their credibility. We sell a house every, 30-something minutes or whatever it is. It's crazy. It's like
30 hours.
Excuse me. I was really impressed until just now. No. But that little things like that they're building credibility by sending that, and they're just essentially training their sales force.
Right, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. You've got to educate that you can do a good job, that you do consistently do a good job, because like what Joey said is they're a little scared to put their name on the line sometimes when they are referring out. And if you're thinking constantly like, they never send me any referrals, well, it might be that they don't know that they can trust the job that you're going to do yet. and we have to educate people on that and be credible. I got a request this week from someone I adore that said, hey, do you know this agent? And she's like one of the number ones in all of the market. She comes to all of our events. And I said, yeah, I know her. Would you mind setting up a meeting for my friend that I've never met to meet her? And I said, oh, no, I won't. And I would do anything for my friend, but she was trying to do a favor for someone else. And I don't know that person. I'm not going to risk my relationship with this other person on someone I don't know if they're credible or not. I've had this is something that's also going to happen. I've had a lot of people use my name a lot, saying, Genny told me to call you. Well, and I didn't. So you'll get that too as you're being known as a giver. In fact, I've had a lot of those issues, and that's very manipulative on those other people's part, and I just don't appreciate it at all. So make sure you don't fall into that category. Let's see. So we talked about, no cards and that personal, after you meet them and you kind of get to know them, it's great to send like a follow-up note in writing, something that you took the time, that's heartfelt, that you believe. If you can't find something good to say, give them a positive quote.
Wow, that's funny.
Gotta be something good there, right? And we talked about making introductions and understanding who the ideal client is. I told you Matt is a master. Hey, this is my ideal client. Joey will tell you who your ideal client is. Your ideal client is not every person who's breathing on the planet.
Right.
Your ideal client is that niche that you would be so happy to work with every single day, that would make you thrilled. In fact, one of my lender clients this week, Adam Snable, last week, he and I were talking in his call, and he said, you know what? It all comes down to ideal client. I'm working with my ideal client, and I love who I work with every day, and it helps me to close 25 loans a month. And, when you have that one that slips in that's not ideal, God, you want to quit the business, right? You want to give it all up because that one person can ruin it. So being very clear on who would fit with you and your personality and what you specialize in doing and making transformations happen for these certain types of people, whether it's where they might live or, what they do for a living, or Michelle just walked in. She loves working with buyers. She's like crazy passionate about that. She loves that. She feels rewarded by helping and working with them. That's an ideal situation that, you want to attract more of that in your life because you know that you can help them and have that credibility.
Well, just if I can add to that,
yeah.
I think the funny thing is about, again, seems to be like the theme of what we're talking about, but it's either, there's a pay it forward aspect of what we're talking about, but there's also a real faith aspect. And so when people don't want to have a niche or a specific person or ideal client, it's because they have this fear that if I'm very specific, then I might miss an opportunity.
Right.
Like, oh, well, if this person asks me what I do and I say I'm a realtor, then I'm generic enough that if they have a house to sell, I can sell it, and they're going to refer it to me. But what ends up happening is quite the opposite, because when people say I'm a realtor, there's a negative connotation. Just like if I said, hey, I'm a financial planner, well, that really has this kind of like, whoa, okay, we're at a party, you're going to go, kind of excuse yourself. Go,
I don't need any IRAs, thank you.
Exactly. I mean, this is not, and that's not who I am anyway, right?
Right.
So to be very specific and say, I'm a financial coach for real estate agents, builders, and lenders, and those that invest in real estate. People kind of come, kind of taken aback by that because it's so kind of unique and so nichey that people, it's almost like that wall comes down and they become very interested at that point. So what is it that you do for them? Like, why did you end up using, why do you specifically work with them? And the inevitable happens is that they say, well, can you do that for me? I'm not in real estate, but I'm, you know, whatever it might be. And I think the way it kind of applies in real estate is, you know, hey, I'd specifically work with first-time home buyers in Vestavia, for instance. Well,
Right.
does that mean you can't also list a home in Homewood if that's where the need is? No, but they automatically want to know, well, why is it that you do that? It's much more of an attractor than it is any sort of, you know, deflector. And you just have to be confident enough to know if that's really what you're passionate about, that's your ideal client, then make it your ideal client. And it's hilarious, but you will actually attract more people that way.
Right. I think people are worried about business falling through the cracks. Well, gosh, I don't want people to think this is all I do. Well, what if it was all you did? What if all you did was walk to your showings because they were in the same neighborhood? I mean, wouldn't you love that? And the other stuff that fell through were all people that you were going to hate anyway and make your life miserable. So, yeah.
Scarcity mindset.
It is.
Exactly.
It is. And I understand it completely. I do. But people who specialize make more money. It's just true in every field. So we just have just a few more minutes, but I also want to touch on the materials needed in order to build that referral business. People, you may not, like Joey said, when you have that first meeting, you're going to get to know everything about that other person. You're not going to have a chance to really share what it is that you do and how credible you are and the difference that you make, and, you know, your testimonials and your success stories from people that have been in your life before. So it's great to have a personal brochure that you can, you know, this is what I specialize in, this is what I can do, that you can send them later. Now that personal note goes first because that needs to be heartfelt and not about you. That needs to be about them. And then you can send that personal brochure that shows what it is that you do and how you can make a difference so that people can communicate how to help you. So I feel like that's something that's definitely needed. And then rewarding the referrals. Okay, this is a big one because people get confused with RESPA, with TRID, with taxes. I mean, there's so many ways, right, that we can get the crap, you know, knocked out of us when we're just trying to say thank you when we're sending us business. And really, you are just supposed to say thank you for sending us business now, because we're not supposed to be paying for referrals and when we're gifting things out. Now, if you throw a party and invite everybody to come, that's absolutely okay to do. If you take a bunch of people to dinner because they're all heavy referrers, then that's okay to do. If you take everybody to a movie, that's okay to do. But, you know, sending one individual gift, even if it's a $5 Starbucks gift card for sending you business, is not okay to do. And I know it gets really confusing because as a good person, you're going to want to do some sort of something. Now, you can take them to lunch or you could take them to coffee, and that's completely fine to do, which would actually help your referral business. But there's going to be a time when you're not going to have any time left because you're going to be covered up with so many referrals. So I really wanted to touch on that a bit and make sure you kind of knew what the difference were. And lenders even have greater restrictions on these things than agents do. So anything you want to add to that, Joey?
I think just to reiterate, you already made the point earlier, but much more valuable to someone than a $5 Starbucks gift card that can get you into trouble is that connection, or that person that may not even be direct business for them, but really helps them solve a need or a challenge at the time. It is dramatic, the impact that has, because it really, the issue is $5 Starbucks gift card is great, but it really takes no thought at all.
It doesn't. And I have to tell you that I seriously found 17 in an old purse uh, when Jay made me clean my closet out the other day. So I wish I knew what 17 people had given me all those gift cards. But I can't, and I feel terrible about that. But he's burning them up like crazy now. But I had forgotten them. They were like a year old in the corner in my closet.
But when you really stop and think about that need for that person, and they can tell. I mean, it comes through with incredible dividends. So yeah, just it takes a lot of work, but it's incredibly more impactful.
You're right. So we could talk all day about this, and it is 2 o'clock already. I want to make sure we get your contact info out there, and I also want to share with you that Mastermind 2016 is coming up, and we already have over 160 some odd people that have purchased tickets and are definitely going to be there. We've got amazing speakers this year. It's going to be at the club on October 19th, and you can go to bhammastermind.com. Check out some of the speakers that we've got, because I mean, these are high numbers in small towns in Alabama. I'm not flying. I am flying Melanie in because she's going to talk about how she converts expireds like crazy. But I just wanted you to have some real world stuff from your own world this year. That it's going to get you excited and motivated. So make sure you go get a ticket there. Joey is going to be there, of course. And Joey, share your phone number with everyone, please.
Yeah, it's 205-370-8460. 205-370-8460. And just want to thank you, Genny, for having me. You have been a mentor in how to refer, and I'm really grateful to even be involved in today's hangout. So thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for helping me save so much money. I mean, my baby girl's at college, right?
I'm sure she's having a great time.
She is. And Jacob's ready to go next year. And even though Jay's having a heart attack, the money part's covered, right?
That's right.
Matt, thank you as always. And can't wait to see you again next month.
That's right. All right. Thank you, guys. We really, really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye, y'all.